Welcome to Tennessee's at-home learning series for literacy. Today's lesson is for all our third graders out there, though everyone is welcome to tune in. This lesson is the fourth in this week's series. My name is Miss Copeland, and I'm a third grade teacher at Venus Stewart Elementary in Gallatin, Tennessee. I'm so excited to be your teacher for this lesson. Welcome to my virtual classroom. If you didn't see our previous lessons, you can find them on www.tn.gov/education. You can still tune in to today's lesson if you haven't seen any of our others, but it might be more fun if you first go back and watch our other lessons, since today we will be talking about things we learned previously. Well, every day I am writing a note to a student in my classroom who I am missing. Today I actually have two notes for two of my students. The first one is for Jesslyn. Jesslyn, I'm missing your bright smile every day. You are kind and caring and helpful to all. I have been impressed with all of the work you continue to do at home. Keep being a leader. Love, Miss Copeland. And I also had a note for Kimberly. Kimberly, I sure do miss seeing you every day. You are kind and thoughtful and such a hard worker. I hope you are a friend to all, and I hope that you are doing well. Love, Miss Copeland. Today, we will be learning about how water moves freely over and over through the water cycle. Before we get started, to participate fully in our lesson today, you will need the student packet for ELA Grade 3, Lesson 19, which can be found at the tn.gov website, and 3 pieces of paper, a pencil, and a surface to write on. Okay, let's begin. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn along with you in the last lesson and all lessons. I call myself a lifelong learner, so understanding the world around me and sharing this with you is special. As a good starting point, we will review our main idea, graphic organizer, and summary paragraph from the last lesson on where water is in the world. Please prepare for this review by having your organizer and summary from yesterday ready. I'll give you time to gather yesterday's materials. By reviewing the key details and main idea of yesterday's learning, we can bring to mind background knowledge to add to today's lesson. After closely reading our text, we listed the key details as: more than half of Earth's surface is covered with water. Many places have water. Some of these places are small and some are large. Large bodies of water can be seen from space. Water in the form of ice can be found in glaciers and polar ice caps. Water is in the atmosphere too. Using those key details, we said the main idea, the idea or focus the author's message was water is on, below, and above Earth. Every drop of water feeds the global well. Next, you were asked to write a summary paragraph to restate your understanding of the text. Good readers and writers use this strategy to check for understanding as they read and before moving on in the text. The assignment looked like this. Please read your summary paragraph out loud. I'd love to hear how you restated your learning in your own words. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. While your paragraph won't be exactly the same, it will likely be similar to this writing I heard. I'll read it for you. Every drop of water on, below, and in the atmosphere around Earth feeds into the global well. Water can be found below Earth's surface, and this water is called groundwater. High in the atmosphere, water droplets surround our Earth. However, most of our water is found in many places across our planet. It can be found in gas, liquid, and ice. Across the globe, people can see water in oceans, rivers, glaciers, marshes, and polar ice caps. In fact, scientists say about 70% of our Earth is covered in water. The large bodies of water can even be seen from space. When I ask myself the question of where water is in the world, I have to answer it is everywhere, and the global well is the source for all water across our planet. Excellent. With that review, it's time to add to our understanding. In this lesson, we will closely read our text, One Well, the Story of Water on Earth, and specifically the chapter titled Recycling Water in the Well, and focus on the vocabulary that supports our comprehension. Join me on this adventure to continue learning about our global well. Remember, the global well refers to the one water source that supplies the whole world with water. Please prepare yourself with one sheet of paper, your pencil, and a place to write on. I'll show you how I made a quick graphic organizer to help with this lesson. I labeled it Note Catcher. Please draw this organizer on your paper. You will use this note catcher to organize your notes as we learn together today. So I have 3 columns. The first is for vocabulary words. The second is for the definition of that word. And the last is for what I know or how I figured it out. Back to our text. As we have practiced in previous lessons, we will check for vocabulary understanding first. As a good reader, I know the text won't make sense if I don't understand the words in the text. Good readers look for and begin reading with headings. This heading says, Recycling Water in the Well. I want to frame my thinking by using background knowledge to understand the word recycling. The first word is recycle, and this word is a familiar one. However, I usually think of recycling around my home, relating to recycling plastic bags and bottles. Because the word water is used in the heading, I know this doesn't relate to bags and bottles. But I know when I recycle materials, I am changing waste into reusable materials. Interesting how the prefix re, meaning happening again, is in both words, recycle and reusable. Therefore, the heading, recycle water, must mean that water will be reused again. In particular, from the heading, the global well water will be reused again and again. Let's add this information to our note catcher. We will complete it after each vocabulary word we work through. So for recycle, we said it means changing waste into reusable materials. And some clues would be we could use our background knowledge of recycling materials at home, and we could use the prefix re to do something again with our base word, cycle. As I begin skimming through the text and I see the word quenched. The sentence says, and 100 million years ago, it may have quenched the thirst of a dinosaur. I accessed my learning and realized that quenched is the past tense of quench. With quench in mind, I look to the sentences before this sentence. It says, the water you drank today may have rained down on the Amazon rainforest 5 years ago. 100 years ago, it may have been steam escaping a teapot in India. 10,000 years ago, it may have flowed in an underground river. 100,000 years ago, it may have been frozen solid in a glacier. And 100 million years ago, it may have quenched the thirst of a dinosaur. Let me share my thinking with you as I figure out the word quench. First, I went back to the paragraph to find out what it was. Reading carefully, I found that it was a pronoun referring to the noun water. Putting the pieces together, Now I know that water did something for the dinosaurs' thirst. I got it. Quench must mean to relieve or solve. Now I can move on. Let's add this to our note catcher. So quenched is the past tense of quench. That word we determined means to relieve or solve. It's solving the dinosaurs' thirst. So our clues, the text said dinosaurs used water for their thirst. The water quenched or solved the dinosaurs' thirst. As I am reading the text, I notice the words water cycle. The text says the amount of water on Earth doesn't change. There's no more water now than when the dinosaurs walked the Earth. The same water just keeps going through a cycle over and over again. This constant movement of water is called the water cycle. As I look at the text to find out what water cycle might mean, I'm going to make sure that I look at the context clues in the text to help me figure it out. The text says, the same water just keeps going through a cycle over and over again. These words tell me that water is being used over and over. When I think of the word cycle, I know that it means something that is repeated or is used over and over. The next sentence tells me that the water is constantly moving. As I think about what the author has shared in the text, I see that they have provided the definition, so it must be important. The constant movement of water is the water cycle. We're going to add this information to our note catcher. So cycle, we said, is something that repeats or is continued. I know that because I used my background knowledge and used the text where it said over and over again. And the other important word was water cycle, which is the constant movement of water, and that is called the water cycle. How I know or figured it out was I read the text and determined that the author defined the words in the text. I'll pause so you can finish jotting your notes. I am going to continue to read through the text. As I am reading, I notice the word evaporates. I know that evaporates is the present tense of evaporate. The text reads, during the water cycle, water evaporates from oceans, lakes, rivers, ponds, and puddles, even from plants and animals. It rises into the air as water vapor. I am thinking back to what I now know about the water cycle, and that it is the constant movement of water. When I read this part of the text, it rises into the air as water vapor. I noticed the word rises. I'm going to use my background knowledge and the text to help me understand that when something evaporates, it might move by rising up. I think that when the water evaporates from different bodies of water, plants, and animals, it is moving or rising. It must be part of the water cycle. Then I ask myself, can water rise on its own? I have never seen water rise from bodies of water, plants, and animals. To help you better understand what evaporate means, we will be talking about water vapor soon. I want you to think about that question to help you think about the meaning of the word. Have you ever seen water rise up from the ground? Let's take some time to add this information to our note catcher. So we've determined that evaporate means to turn from liquid into vapor. And I know that because I used my background knowledge and clues from the text. Our text will be easier to understand now that we understand key words and phrases. Finding the main idea would be difficult when we don't understand what the author is telling us. We are ready to plow ahead, and you will be using context clues to find the meaning of key words. Thank you for following along as I modeled how to figure out the vocabulary words. Now I'll ask you to show off your skills by answering vocabulary questions. I'll read the text and ask you to listen for the word water vapor. When I finish, I'll ask you to give the definition. During the water cycle, water evaporates from oceans, lakes, rivers, ponds, and puddles, even from plants and animals. It rises into the air as water vapor. What is water vapor? I'll pause for you to answer. Great job using text evidence. You said it correctly. Water vapor is water that turns into a gas and rises into the atmosphere. Excellent. This reminds me of the steam rising off hot food or out of a tea kettle. The water is changing from a liquid to a gas form. Next, I saw the word condensation. Listen carefully for clues to understand condensation. Say condensation. Awesome, thank you. I'll read from the text. As water vapor rises, it cools into tiny water droplets. This is called condensation. These droplets form clouds. What is condensation? You are wise. You said that condensation is the process of water vapor cooling back into droplets. A droplet is simply a small drop of water. Time to add to our note catcher. So we're writing the definition of condensation, the process of water vapor turning back into water droplets. And I know because the author gave the definition in the sentence. You have been excellent students following along as we work on our vocabulary. As I read the last paragraph, listen for the word precipitation and form the definition in your mind or on your graphic organizer. When the water droplets get too heavy, they fall from the clouds in the form of hail, snow, or rain. This precipitation returns to oceans, lakes, and rivers. It also seeps in the soil and down into the groundwater. Seeps means leaks into. The water leaked into the soil. Year after year, water continuously or constantly circulates through the water cycle. What is precipitation? Yes, you may have heard that word before. Precipitation is water droplets that fall from the clouds. As it falls, it can look like snow, sleet, hail, or rain. Time to add new learning to your note catcher. So go ahead and add that definition for precipitation. And we know because the text says when water droplets get too heavy, they fall from the clouds in the form of hail, snow, or rain. After working together in this lesson, it has come to the time to give you an assignment for you to complete independently after this lesson. You will need another sheet of paper, a pencil, and a surface to write on. Grab your supplies and get ready to copy the directions, please. Our directions are: complete this graphic organizer. Use your note catcher from our text, One Well, the Story of Water on Earth, and the chapter, Recycling Water in the Well. Say each word out loud as you complete the organizer for that word. Ask an adult if you need help saying the word. Draw a picture to help you remember the definition of each vocabulary word. Don't worry if the picture isn't perfect. Last, write a complete sentence that would help a new learner understand the meaning of each vocabulary word. Be sure to spell the vocabulary words correctly. So our words you'll be drawing a picture for and writing a sentence for are recycle, quench, cycle, evaporate, water vapor, condensation, and precipitation. I'll stop here and give you time to write down your assignment. I enjoyed adding to our vocabulary bank with you today. Some of the words you will see again in other texts, and some words are specific to the topic of water. Either way, the understanding from today will allow us to more easily understand the text in the next lesson. Thank you for inviting me into your home. I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson in Tennessee's at-home learning series. Bye!